welcome to today's Way Forward Workshop, Leader Lunch Break, where we are thrilled to welcome Sharon Sobol Jordon to the conversation. After a successful career spanning almost 4 decades of giving and giving back to Cleveland communities, Sharon could have done what many elect to do, retired and relaxed. Instead, she chose to take on what may be the greatest challenge of her career, leading United Way of Greater Cleveland into its and Cleveland's future. For those who know her, this choice was not surprising, for her career has been one of serving and making a difference in the lives of those she serves. From law director of the City of Cleveland, president and CEO of the Center for Families and Children, chief of staff for Cuyahoga County, and work with Unify Labs, her career journey has transcended many boundaries. When she was selected as the first woman and president and CEO of United Way in its 122-year history, Board Chair Paul Dolan said of Sharon, "She is one of Cleveland's strongest leaders in the fight against poverty. She is a veteran of nonprofits with a passion for solving big problems and has dedicated her career to advancing equity and justice. It is not only what she does, but is also core to who she is as a person and a professional. Those who work alongside her in the community will readily agree. Her spirit is collaborative, her vision piercing, and her commitment unwavering. Her actions since assuming the role confirm her belief that social and economic change cannot be achieved without racial justice, and that we must permanently disrupt the cycle of intergenerational poverty. Sharon is an active presence in the community with service on the boards of the Jewish News, the Temple Tifereth Israel, as well as in the civic realm with the City Club Policy Bridge and the Cleveland Transformation Alliance. She is a recipient of numerous awards, a Woman of Note, Woman of Achievement, Smart Business, Smart 50 Leader, YE Entrepreneur of the Year finalist, and we are proud to call her an alum of Leadership Cleveland. Sharon, I turn it over to you.
Oh, Marianne, thank you so much. It's really good to see so many friends and partners in this important work here with us today. There is so much progress and potential right now because of your leadership and your strong desire to work differently together to make real change happen. So thank you for being here. It means a lot to me. As many of you know, the past 5 years has been a time of significant change for our United Way. Change that included a leadership transition at the beginning of last year, which is why I'm here, and a significant business pivot a few years earlier, just a few short months before the pandemic changed our world. Today, we are in the midst of a deep strategy process to build upon this experience. That process is expected to run through early fall. Our thinking is evolving as our process moves forward. We are now moving from data gathering to sense making, where we will have our chance to clarify, focus, and come together around our aspirations for a better region, a better Cleveland, and a better United Way. So this is an interesting time for me to be with you. I will share some of our early thinking with you today, but please keep in mind that we are far from done. While I'm happy to answer your questions in the Q&A, I hope you will use some of that time as an opportunity to inform our planning by giving me your feedback and suggestions. I'm also happy to come back later this year to share in more detail on the decisions we make when our process is completed. So before I get any further, I wanted to congratulate and thank Marianne for her incredibly successful tenure and impactful leadership of the Cleveland Leadership Center. Marianne, so many of us are better leaders and partners because of you. I just can't thank you enough for that. As many of you may know, I met Marianne at law school. The two of us went to the Ohio State University together. I went to law school without knowing a single lawyer. I never had met one. I didn't really know what they do. But as I neared the end of college with absolutely no plans, my mom suggested that I go to law school, and I jumped right on it. Little did I know that she must have already decided to go to law school herself. At age 47, with 3 of her 4 daughters still at home, she enrolled at the Cleveland State University Law School to pursue what she often referred to as her calling in life. And the Cleveland Leadership Center was kind enough before she passed away to have the two of us on a little panel with Dan Multhorpe moderating, which was a really special moment for both of us. So thank you for that. But if you all are doing the math, this meant that my first year of law school was my mother's second, which set up an interesting new dynamic between us. During the many times that I was overwhelmed and discouraged at law school, I got no sympathy from my mom. What's so hard about that was her go-to response when I'd call home: no encouraging notes, no care packages for me. But law school also was transformative for me in other ways too. It trained me to solve problems, and I felt like I had found my why or my passion, because this type of problem solving seemed to really feed my sense of justice and fairness. My first job out of law school was with a private law firm, working with individual clients, people, families, companies, helping them solve problems that they couldn't solve on their own, and I absolutely loved it. Next, I served as law director for the city of Cleveland, and this is where I learned about solving big problems at scale, those problems that impact all of us. My mayor, Mayor Michael White, had a bold vision that every member of his cabinet bought into. We believed in each other and our collective ability to solve big problems. To make that kind of change, it took all of us working together and leaning on each other's unique expertise, experience, disciplines, and perspectives. This experience made me believe that there is no problem we cannot solve if we have the skill and will to do it. Individually, we each may be limited, but together, the possibilities to make positive and lasting change were unlimited. I see that same potential with our United Way. This potential for deep impact at scale is a reason why I joined our team last year. So I want to talk with you today about 3 aspects of our work to define our path forward. First, how we see the shape of the problem we are trying to solve. Second, how we are thinking about solutions. And third, our evolving theory of change, which I'm anxious to get your thoughts and advice on when I'm done. So I have a few slides to share, and I'm going to do that now. Okay, can you all see that? Good, okay. So we start with our why. What's driving us to do this work at our United Way? We believe this region can be a prosperous place that benefits all of us, a place where we all have the opportunity and ability to build income and wealth here, and a place where economic equity and mobility is not only possible, but happening. But you all know better than most that that is not where we are today. Our region's economic strength is tied to the financial stability of the people and families that live here, and yet Greater Cleveland grapples with racial disparities that disproportionately burden our most vulnerable residents, particularly people living in poverty, underemployed, and unstably housed. So the problem we need to solve is this: how do we close the gap between our aspirations for our region and our current reality? Imagine what would be possible if we were a region with economic equity and mobility. We know that poverty is a financial state. We also know that the people in the middle are the most at risk with the least support. These are the families that are working and still are one crisis away from financial disaster. How can we help more of us reach a level of net income and net worth that supports a better life for ourselves and our families? Think of net worth as I own more than I owe, and I have the ability to make systems work for me. If you truly believe, as we do, that our individual success is tied to our region's success and vice versa, then we need to aim higher and wider, not just helping, but how we help and where we focus. So second, I want to talk about how we're thinking about solutions, because we are really asking some tough questions about charity and change. So inspired by Martin Luther King, who aptly described the complex push-pull when you talk about charity and change, he said, philanthropy is commendable, but it must not cause the philanthropist to overlook the circumstances of economic injustice, which make philanthropy necessary. So charity is about helping a person in need. Change is about solving the problem that caused the need in the first place, eliminating the root causes or conditions that are holding the problem in place. Here's another way to think about this. Last week, I heard Matthew Desmond speak about his latest book, Poverty by America. He told us that most Americans believe that poverty is a fact of life, but there is plenty of evidence to show that they are wrong. I encourage you to read his books to learn more, but particularly about the successes that we have had over the past 40 years, helping people get over the poverty line, particularly with direct assistance for housing, food, and income. The problem, according to Desmond, is that we typically direct our spending to programs that will make poverty, in his words, less lethal, but will not make poverty disappear. To make his point, Desmond quoted author Tommy Orange, who said, "Kids are jumping out of the windows of burning buildings, falling to their deaths, and we think the problem is that they are jumping." This really stuck with me because I think he was saying to us that that we think the problem is the people themselves instead of the burning buildings. But we should be asking, why are the buildings burning? How do we put out the fire? And this is the point of view that is reflected in our call to action at United Way, which is focused in on the branches and roots of poverty. Our strategy process is providing us with the space we need to evolve and reimagine what works to close gaps. We are flipping the narrative, we're asking new questions, and we're really challenging each other's mindsets. But what if instead of dead branches and scraggly roots, our collective call to action was represented by a full leafy tree with healthy roots, progress and results that benefit all of us at the treetops, supported by the strong roots of prosperity below. From this view, can we more clearly see our big opportunity to affect deep impact at scale? And how do we need to show up and work differently together to really make it happen? So now let me move just to my third and final point, which is about our evolving theory of change that centers on our journey from charity to change. This view of downstream and upstream strategies and impact is helpful to make sense of what we have learned and make decisions about our path from here, particularly the levers we have to make change and where we can have deep impact at scale. We have spent some time looking at ourselves to understand the value we bring and our opportunities to strengthen and grow. For example, we operate at the dynamic intersection of our business community, government, social sector, and residents, with long-standing trust-based relationships at the core. Historically, we have been the community's go-to for charity, particularly the business community, working down and midstream to address the needs of individuals directly and through system providers that are doing this good work. More recently, we have extended our work upstream, aiming everything we've got, including our charitable work, to making lasting positive change at the root and at scale. We understand the complexity involved with economic and social change, and in my view, bring a unique and important perspective that comes from our real-time data and experience responding to immediate needs, and more recent experience with collective solutions to close gaps and eliminate need. So applying this frame to our current work, here's what it might look like. Downstream, where our goal is addressing individual needs, one of our longest standing services is 211, which is how we make systems that can help work. 211 is the gateway to the many resources and services available in our community. Calling 211 is free. Someone will answer the phone anytime you call, and it's open to people of all income levels. More recently, we have been using our 211 capability to answer your calls to other critical systems around the clock. Think 311 for city services, the gambling hotline, utility assistance, emergency shelter, just to name a few. We're answering the phone to make sure that there's 24/7 coverage for these important systems. We also know we are known for running campaigns at workplaces and in the community. These campaigns connect employees and neighbors that can help through giving and volunteering with people who need their help. Moving to midstream, where our goal is addressing system providers' needs. Another one of our longstanding services is providing grants and training to system providers to expand their reach and capacity to serve more people with proven solutions. More recently, we have been helping to give promising ideas coming from the community a chance to come to market. Universal basic employment is the most recent example of how we partner with social entrepreneurs to bring their ideas to market through an array of services and supports. Anything from fiscal sponsorship to office space to data analysts and analysis to marketing, fundraising. We do whatever it takes to help these promising ideas. And then if we go upstream, where our goal is to shift economic and social conditions that are perpetuating need and widening gaps, our point of view on what is needed to create the conditions for economic equity and mobility is best articulated through our social determinants of work. This focuses on the 8 intersecting systems that can make it easy or hard to build income and wealth here. Think transportation, childcare, job flexibility, broadband at home, just to name a few. And the benefits cliff is an example of how these systems collide, but also how they can be fixed. Cranes is running a great series this week, their forum, and the benefits cliff has been addressed by Ken Serrata and our team and Emily Campbell of the Center for Community Solutions. And I would encourage you to read those. It's a really important topic for all of us to understand. But there are several ways that we work upstream now. For a long time, we have focused on advocacy. We are uniquely situated as a close-in partner to business and government to use our voice to inform and advocate for changes in public policy and business and employer practices. We prioritize those win-win solutions that both help people succeed at work and reduce turnover and increase retention. More recently, we have been a strong partner in collective action, convening and collaborating on shared solutions like Let's Save Cleveland, Right to Counsel, and the Louise Stokes Scholar House. And we serve as a partner in change for government, corporate leaders, philanthropy, and individuals that want to invest for impact upstream, particularly to financially support collective solutions aimed at our biggest problems. For all of this to work, we must follow the data to the opportunities with the highest potential financial and social ROI and be accountable for progress and results. So we have been investing in our own capability for data analytics and generating new insights. More to come on that later in the year, but just stay tuned on that one. It's very important to us. So looking ahead, we need your help. This is Yogi Berra, who I don't expect any of you to know, but he was a well-known baseball player and manager in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. But he is most famous for his unique and witty observations. I think people often called them yogiisms. Our world is constantly changing, or as Yogi would say, the future ain't what it used to be. But we are not passive receivers of this change. We are all a part of making change with every decision and action. But acting now is critical, or as Yogi would say, when you come to the fork in the road, take it. And we are doing hard things. No one of us has the answer or even the full and complete picture. So it is time to embrace our collective power and be smart and intentional about how we act in collaboration with each other. So I just want to end with something that I actually learned from participating in the many wonderful CLC programs, and that is change requires leadership. Leadership to build, convene, and collaborate around a strong and viable vision, but also leadership that understands that change for many of us means risk and uncertainty. It takes a leap of faith to believe that our tomorrow can be so much better if we try to change today. I believe that this is the leadership drive that we have here across systems, sectors, and neighborhoods right now at this moment in our region. Our story will be told by the results we achieve together, the success of our region, and all the people that call this place home. So my greatest wish for our united way and for all of us is that we can look back on this moment and say, we had a big opportunity and we took it. So now I'm anxious to hear your thoughts. Rachel, I'll turn it back over to you and I will stop sharing so we can all see each other.
Great, Sharon, thank you. So let's start with talking a little bit more about 211, which you mentioned. Can you talk about the quantity, the types of calls that come in, and how might that have changed over the past few years, especially in light of COVID?
Yeah, so very interesting. 211 is, there's so many parts of 211 that I think really can benefit the community, and not many of them are well known, but the call volume, I think is around 150,000 calls a year. And that's just for our 211, which covers 5 counties. And, as I mentioned, we do white label that. So we're answering the phone for many other important services and systems in our community. Unfortunately, one of the most striking data points. So we track need, by what people are calling for. We track it by zip code. And I can tell you that housing has been the greatest need, and that is consistent for the last decade. We next see utility assistance and food, which is not surprising to anybody. But that data, we are digging deeper into that data and integrating it with other data now, so we can understand not only the need, but what works to address it. And we can all use that to inform not only what United Way does, but hopefully what all of you do, because we want to direct our resources to the place that we can make the greatest difference. I think that's what I hear most universally, whether I'm talking to someone in the corporate world, the business, the government or social sector, is how do we know what we're doing is making a difference? And we certainly believe that the information that we're receiving directly from residents that are calling in is a great place to start.
And building on that, can you share a little bit of insights into how United Way decides which programs or organizations to support?
Yes, so we definitely use that data as our starting point, and there's other data that we look at. Certainly, we do a community needs assessment every couple years, which also points us in the right directions. And United Ways around the country, including in Ohio, put out an ALICE report, which actually focuses in on families that are employed and struggling. So we use all that data to drive where we focus.
United Way has for so long been built on workplace giving campaigns, which has really shifted over the past few years. Can you talk more about your funding and thinking into the future of how funding might look for United Way?
Yeah, that's a big question that we're grappling with right now in strategic planning. We have diversified our revenue sources over the last several years. So the workplace campaign, our United Way is over 100 years old, and the workplace campaign has been pretty much the funding source for all the work that we do. Now we do have other sources that you would expect, grants, major gifts, government funding. And so all of that kind of has the complete picture. We are looking at other ways that we can earn revenue as well, using some of our assets to do that. But we need to really focus in on what is that business model that's going to carry us into the next 100 years, as the workplace campaign has carried us to this point. So stay tuned for that. I think there's lots of really good ideas, and we're excited to dig into it.
You mentioned the benefits cliff. Can you share any public policy changes that may help address that issue?
Well, the one that we're most interested in, and I think for the benefits cliff, I think as most of you know, this is the phenomenon that happens to people when they're offered, they're employed and they're offered a promotion with the wage increase. But the net effect of that, if they lose their benefits, is that their family will actually lose money. And so it's really too much to ask of anybody. It would not be logical to take a promotion, but then have less money for your family to survive. And so there are some interesting programs that the state is running on calling benefit bridges, both working with individuals and with employers on different strategies that we can use to better align sort of how we progress in our careers with having the financial resources to do that. The Universal Basic Employment Pilot that we're supporting the research phase before that kicks off over the next 2 years also is an interesting one. It's looking at setting a wage that gets people over that benefits cliff for a couple of years, and then seeing how that impacts their own trajectory and ability to, kind of build their income from there. So it's a really exciting program, and we're anxious to learn more from there as well.
You mentioned building partnerships with other entities, really trying to address those systemic issues, which can be really challenging. What are some lessons learned along the way of building those collaborations that you can share with those on the call?
Well, I do think that we've had really, really wonderful partners and really good success. I think that's the first thing is, really carefully selecting your partners, making sure that, and ideally the partners around the table are coming from all different disciplines, all different sectors, bringing what they have. So we have found that you have to work hard to make sure that you're sort of translating what you say. Like we talk in a certain way for people in our field, but when we're trying to partner with people outside of our field, there's a big, I think there's a big gap between what I think I'm saying and what you're actually hearing. So that's a really important thing, and being open to it. But I also think that we're so anxious sometimes to solve these problems that we get very linear, and we want to go right from problem to solution, and move on. And taking the time to really level set among all the partners on the problem you're trying to solve. It's really more important than we think. And then going to solutions and being open. Maybe this is the most important, being open to the fact that you may have things that you think work well. I think we all come into some of these conversations saying, well, if you'd only scale my program, this would be solved. But I think we know that it's not just about the program, it's also about the way we're working together and what we're aiming for, and being open to the fact that somebody else might have something that is more effective. And we know that maybe we all have to kind of mid-course correct or change to get there. But again, I just want to reiterate that no one of us has the answer. If we did, we would be doing it. So I think there's got to be a lot of what I would call action learning, willingness to try things. And this is hard, but I mean, trying things that we're not sure are going to work, but giving it the best chance. And if it doesn't work, at least we learn, and then being ready to move on. And I think that also comes with the expectations of agencies like ours, of government, of businesses, that, when you put yourself out there to try something innovative and new, understanding that the learning is almost as important, as the initiative being a success in sort of the traditional terms. If we don't give each other the grace and sort of, to learn and try things, then we're just going to be stuck with the same old problems and where we are today. So I think that's probably some of the things, Rachel, the last thing I'll say, by the way, is that in many of the things that we've done, we have stepped up to do the evaluation or make sure that the evaluation is happening. And I think that's really important to make sure that we see not only how to make the current initiative work, but that's really led us to think upstream more. There's some really good examples of even like maybe right to counsel, where people were going to court facing eviction without being represented, where most of the landlords were pretty much represented. And so eviction was a very traumatic thing. Right to counsel is wonderful because those evictions can be, if you need to leave, it needs to be much more planful. But what we learned through that and through the evaluations is that now that people are represented and they can be an equal partner, they still probably need to move because the housing stock is not safe. It may not be lead safe or just safe for them. And we really have a shortage of safe and affordable housing. So going through that experience helped us understand that that's important and that component is there. But now we got to keep moving upstream if we're really going to solve the problem of housing right now.
We have time for one final question. So for those of us on the call in our community, how can we support you in the work of United Way?
Well, I meant it when I said, I hope that, I know we're running out of time now, but I hope you'll reach out to me, or there's many members of our team on this call right now. I hope many of you know our team, and let us know what you think this community and you need from us for the region to prosper and benefit all of us. We are really going deep on that right now to really because there's lots of things we do well. There's lots of things we could continue to do. But what does this region need from us uniquely that no one else can do? And that if we don't do it, the region won't reach its full potential. That's what we're really searching for. And so I'm hoping that you all will reach out and let us know what you think.
Sharon, thank you so very much for your time today, for the thoughtful way in which you approach this critically important work for our region. And the courage in which you're taking risks and approaching this, I think, is just manifest in all that you do. So thank you for demonstrating that to all of us who need to exercise more of that in our own leadership. Very much appreciated.